Thank you. On behalf of Revolution Food, I would just really love to welcome Karen Thomson and Kerry, authors of Sugar Free, and we're going to open the floor to you.
Yay, thank you,
Welcome.
thank you. So very excited to be here, and thank you to Heather for creating the space for all of this to take place. So my name is Karen and I am a sugar addict. I know you don't hear that very often, but that is my truth. I have suffered from other addictions to other chemicals and other substances, and for me sugar was the hardest one to give up. It's the one that I still struggle with daily. It's the one that gets me when I'm in those shopping aisles. It's the one that creeps up. It's the one that I need. Because I use sugar to comfort, I use sugar to reward, and I even use sugar to punish myself. So sugar is my drug. And I'm not saying it's a drug for everybody, but there are certain people who have a propensity for addiction and do become addicted to sugar. So Kerry and myself wrote this book called Sugar Free, and we started investigating the role that sugar plays in the brain and how sugar actually changes the chemical structure of our brain, and how when we use sugar, our brain lights up in the same way as it does when we use chemicals such as cocaine and heroin. So sugar follows the same reward pathway and the dopamine response as other hard drugs. So the key to break your sugar addiction, in our opinion, is complete abstinence at the beginning. Because unless you stop doing that and stop feeding this reward pathway, nothing's going to change. And then the other important thing with sugar addiction is to look at the underlying emotional, psychological, and spiritual aspect of addiction. Like, what are you trying to feed? What is that hole in your soul that you're trying to feed when you're reaching for sweet, sugary foods? So Coca-Cola was my absolute best. And I associate Coca-Cola with my dad, who's actually here. So you can all give him a bit of a kick on the bum. And Coca-Cola, the sweet taste of Coca-Cola would soothe me. And I would feel loved and protected. So to this day, when I need love and protection, the first thing I want to do is run to the shop to buy a Coca-Cola. So what I'm wanting is not a Coca-Cola, but it's the feeling. I want to feel loved and I want to feel protected. And I have started to associate that with sugar. And it became a habit which I needed to break. So my journey started when I heard Professor Noakes on Carte Blanche in 2012, when he first started the low-carb banting lifestyle. And he mentioned the word sugar and addiction in the same sentence, and a light bulb went off for me, and I knew that to me, sugar is an addiction. So we started an amazing program at our addiction treatment facility in Hart Bay called Harmony Clinic, and we started treating sugar as an addiction. So we actually have sugar addicts who come and share the same facility with drug addicts and alcoholics, because to them, sugar is so powerful, and they need to practice complete abstinence from it in a supportive, safe environment to get off it. Because sugar is not something that we can just stop, like we have to eat. So we're faced with our drug of choice at least 3 times a day. And that makes it so much more challenging. You know, and we all have our own associations with sugar, and we have to look at the underlying stuff. As I told you, my childhood relationship with sugar, my associations with sugar. Sugar gave me a high. It didn't make me out of it in the same way that alcohol did, but I still want to run to sugar. When I go through a difficult emotional time, the first thing I want to do is buy a piece of cake, or go to Woolies and buy a triple chocolate mousse. And I actually did a magazine article a couple of years ago, and it ended off by saying, before I went on this lifestyle, that this has happened in my life, but if all else fails, and I'm quoting, there's always triple chocolate mousse from Woolworths. Now, this has been a pattern in my life, and so Kerry and I decided to write this book together because it's an 8-week program. It is going to help you look at the underlying emotional, spiritual, psychological issues, building a relationship with yourself, not looking for an external reward to an internal problem. The solution is within us. And until we tap into that authentic, real space, nothing can change. So that's a little bit about my story, Kerry.
So my association with sugar and sugar addiction began in my later years. I had a very good mother who fed me really well. We ate all the right things, all the organ meats, etc. But when I was in my 30s, my thyroid became underactive and it was never diagnosed. And so my start in the morning was a huge cappuccino. For tea time, it would be a Chelsea bun or a chocolate or something. And it was the only way that I could feel normal. It was the only thing that actually gave me energy. And that's what I did. I ate and I ate and I ate and I just piled on the weight. And I never ever understood why I could not stop eating. And that's an important thing to remember, is that sugar makes you hungry. You never feel full. And I reached a stage in my life where I thought to myself, this is it, this is me forever. I'm always going to be the person who is eating a lot, who wants to eat the sugar, who can't stop eating chocolate. And again, it was through Professor Tim Noakes that I connected with Karen. And I went on her outpatient clinic at the Harmony Clinic and learned a lot about addiction and sugar. And through that process, stopped eating sugar and stopped eating carbohydrates. I'm not perfect, I do slide. Dark chocolate is still my weakness. And I try very hard not to eat it, but sometimes it happens. But I've learned not to beat myself up, and I've learned to love myself. And I've learned that it's important that I take responsibility for who I am and how I deal with my life. So it's been an amazing journey, and writing the book has been an amazing journey as well.
So we have some questions that we got off Facebook that Heather got, and then we'll open the floor to you guys for questions, and I hope that you will ask lots of questions. So the first one was, I would really like to know how artificial sugar sweeteners manage to fool the body into the same responses as taking sugar does. Sharing that knowledge would surely go a long way towards people avoiding sweetness as well, and that's from Alan Gurnett on Facebook. Alan, you've hit the nail on the head. And we at Harmony Clinic, in conjunction with a registered dietitian, a psychiatrist, a doctor, psychiatric nurses, addiction counselors. I'm not standing here with no qualifications telling you what to do. We literally have a medical team backing up everything that we're saying. And we do not recommend any artificial sweeteners. So I do understand that sometimes you do need to use xylitol and stevia in your transition to sugar-free. I get that, but be aware that you can become dependent on that. Also, in my experience and the studies that we have looked at, the brain can't distinguish between real sugar and fake sugar. And those will trigger cravings for you to eat other types of sugar. I know sometimes I will eat even an apple, a fruit, and I will be triggered into wanting more sweet stuff, because for me, sugar is a reward. And I can't stop eating. I cannot have just one piece of chocolate. I have to finish the slab, because that slab actually calls my name. It's in the cupboard and it's like, Karen, eat me. And it's lonely, and I give in and I do it. So we recommend staying away from artificial sweeteners. In the book, the recipes do not have them. It's about eating real food, whole foods, natural foods, as close to its natural state as possible. I think it's absolutely ludicrous to be creating junk food products that are supposedly good for you. Why recreate junk? We need to focus on whole, real foods, and we need to teach our kids about this as well. And preparation is key. You cannot be successful on any lifestyle change if you are not prepared to put in the effort. There's no such thing as there's not enough time. Make time, do it on a Sunday. You have a full-time job, you were telling me earlier, and you managed to prepare all your kids' foods and all your stuff on a Sunday evening. And I think that's phenomenal. That way there is no option to act out and fall off the wagon. You are setting yourself up for success. Do you want to add anything?
No, that's
okay.
fine. Wait, I do. Sorry. The one thing I always tell people, xylitol is poisonous to dogs and to birds. And so I always say, if something's poisonous to dogs and birds, why would you actually put that into your own body? So it's just something to think about.
And question number 2 from Colleen Grove. Colleen is actually here. So Colleen said, Karen, what do you think about banters eating banting-friendly sweet stuff every day? I see far more sweet recipes shared or asked for in groups than savory. Shouldn't we be weaning ourselves of the desire for sweet treats? I was the worst sweet addict out there, but I'm at the stage where I do still long for it, but only indulge in banting-friendly cake or cheesecake for birthdays and special occasions now. And I think that is so important. We need to leave this and those sweet treats not as an everyday thing. It's not supposed to be every day. Our sweet tooth was a way of saving us during our evolutionary period. And fruit and stuff was only available before we went into hibernation phase. And the fruit was available to increase our fat stores so that we had stuff to live off in winter. Fructose turns into fat. That's the way it works. So stay away from those. Colleen apparently has a lovely chocolate cake recipe that she's going to share with us on the blog quite soon. And we can put that up, but just remember guys, it's okay every now and then. I don't like the word treat and sweet in the same sentence. You know, it's just one of those things. Just try to keep it real. And then question number 3 from Sheradine Inga Meyer. I'd like to know where the line is between actually having a sugar addiction versus minimal sugar intake. How much does it help to reduce your sugar intake dramatically versus going cold turkey? And here I want to say, no one size fits all. It's so important for you to figure out exactly what works for you. What can you tolerate? What can you not tolerate? I am a sugar addict. I cannot tolerate sugar in any form, in any quantity. One bite leads to way too many, and it's just not worth it for me, because when I eat sugar, I don't actually eat the product. I am eating guilt and shame. So it's pointless, because those are the feelings that I'm eating on. I'm not enjoying it. It's not serving me in any way. I literally am feeling, the guilt and the shame just isn't worth it. Do you want to add on that one?
No, shall I answer the last question?
Okay. And number 4 from Audreen Swart Cooper. My husband is diabetic but has a sweet tooth. What do we do?
Okay, so this is advice from Prof. Noakes, and that if you've got diabetes, you should be eating under 25 grams of carbohydrates a day. So that means no sugar at all. And one of the things that you need to do is you need to reprogram your brain. Because as soon as your brain sees something sweet, you don't even have to eat it. You can see a picture of a milkshake, and already the reward centers in your brain start to be triggered. So you have to reprogram your brain. And the only way you can do that is by stop eating sugar, increase the fat content of your food, so that your brain starts to process the food in a different way and stops becoming used to the sugar. And it will make a huge difference. So that is the advice on diabetes. Sugar will just create the cravings. It'll keep you in that loop of wanting sugar, because as soon as you have sugar and your insulin goes up, and your insulin drops, and then your brain says, uh-oh, where's the sugar? And then you get hungry again, and the cravings start. So it's very important, if you're diabetic, to really cut out the sugar and look at decreasing your carbs to under 25 grams a day.
And I just want to mention with that, it's so important though to do it under medical supervision of a qualified medical practitioner. Not somebody who's done a 1-week course in eating. Please don't go there. Go to your doctor. If you don't know who to go to, email us, ask us. We've got a list of doctors and dietitians that can help you on this path. But it really is so important to do this properly. There's a lot of really bad advice out there, and it's important that you stick to it. We do have 8 weeks of meal plans in here. We've got vegetarian and non-vegetarian meal plans. We've got recipes. It was developed by a registered dietitian. So this is all scientifically calculated and worked out. This book is not the ultimate weight loss solution. This book is to beat your sugar addiction and improve your health, not only biologically or physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically as well. So essentially it's about living an authentic life in every way. And I love that question. So the question was about sugar and children and lunchboxes and everything. And I've got 2 little kids. They are 6 and 8, and it is a struggle. I can promise you it is not easy. They have improved a lot, but it's still hard. We actually shot a segment on Friday with a registered dietitian who specializes in pediatric dietetics. And she gave the best advice because she's got 2 kids and she knows as a mother how hard it is to follow this lifestyle. So she said, you know, if you do pack the sandwich, make sure it's got loads of butter on and protein so that there's a slow release of energy. Take a step in the right direction, and that is the only thing we can really do, you know. Pack apple slices with nut butter. I'm going to be blogging about 5 days worth of kids' lunchboxes soon. You know, little societies with meatballs and cheese and tomato. My one kid won't touch that. My other one will. So what I can say is that apparently in labs, cancer cells are kept alive by feeding them sugar. Enough said, right? And I don't think that sugar is not a nutrient that we need. We do not need refined sugar in our diets. Our body can produce glucose from other foods. So we do not need sugar. We do not need refined processed food of any kind. So, you know, there's a strong link, and there's a lot of studies being done by a guy called Dr. Colin Champ and Dr. Dominic D'Agostino in the States about ketogenic diets and cancer, and they are finding it very favorable. Time will tell, but I think we are definitely moving in that direction. When I did my calculation at the beginning, when I was trying to figure out how much sugar I was eating like 21 teaspoons of added sugar, and I was doing pasta with pesto, low-fat muesli, low-fat milk, coffee with like 1 sugar. It looked like a starvation diet that I was on, and it was 21 teaspoons of added sugar. So there's a lot of hidden sugar in our food. It's embedded in our food supply. It really, really is, because I believe, and this is just my opinion, and you can call me a conspiracy theorist, but the big food companies know that sugar is addictive. And I mean, they've spoken about the bliss point. The bliss point is, and they do studies on this, the bliss point is the point in the brain where when you're eating sugar, you have it, but it doesn't satiate you, it leaves you craving for more. So, like the Oreo cookies are created that you eat it, but you don't feel satisfied, you need more. So, exactly. So, and the big food companies know this. There's an amazing book called Salt, Sugar and Fat by Michael Moss, where he goes into this and he talks about this big meeting that was held with all the big food companies in the US and how they market products and they engineer products to make us addicted because it will push up their sales. So anything with the O's at the end, lactose, galactose, that is a sugar. It breaks down into sugar. So milk does contain sugar in the form of lactose. I've got 2 kids, 6 and 8, and I have no control over what they eat when they're not at home. And I'm powerless over that. And what I can do is keep my home environment as safe as possible. That doesn't mean that a tray of chocolate muffins doesn't sneak its way into my house sometimes. I'm not perfect, and nor are my kids. I try and feed them the very best possible food and speak to them about how sugar changes their body. And they've started to understand this concept of what sugar does to their body. And kids are a lot more clever than we give them credit for. So once we give them the ideas and the information, it's going to be different, and to use reward in a different way. So not to say, oh, you can have a sweet when you do something well, but let's look at an activity that we can do together. Let's work towards that. So have one day that they can have sugar, because unfortunately that is part of our society, and as much as a perfect society would have no sugar, in my opinion, it's just not the way to go, and there he is. So you know what, it's baby steps, and we can't go from one extreme to the other overnight. So it's about educating, informing, and enlightening, and it's about leading by example. And you have to retrain your taste buds, and you can't do that when you have fake sweetness in your food. And it takes a while, and it's not fun, but 2 weeks and you get through it, and things change, and you start tasting sweetness in veggies and real food, and it's not that fake sweetness that's driving you constantly. Oh, thank you guys. It was amazing that you were all here.